While China's economy may be slowing, many large international hotel companies remain confident about their prospects in the world's most populous nation. Earlier today I spoke with Arne Sorenson, Chief Executive of Marriott Hotels. We began by talking about where he sees growth opportunities in China. Mr. Sorenson, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, you bet.
You have a very large presence in cities like Shanghai and Beijing, but I'd like to know more where you see growth happening in other parts of China.
So we have today about 65 open hotels in China. We have 25 almost in the city of Shanghai alone, 15 in Beijing. So a huge part of our distribution is in those two, obviously principal commercial destinations as well as tourist destinations. In Hainan, we have 3 hotels open, a Ritz-Carlton, a Renaissance, and a Marriott. We have 8 under construction. So it gives you a sense how Hainan, as the beach destination, as China's Hawaii, if you will, is growing spectacularly. It's a Chinese destination, though. 95% or so of all visitors to Hainan are Chinese. And I think the dynamic we're seeing, not just in Hainan, but across China, is this exploding middle class. For the first time, you're getting a generation of hundreds of millions of people who have the resources to do more than simply worry about housing, food, wellness, medical care, and education. They're saying, okay, now we've got those things covered. Not that necessarily you don't worry about them, you obviously do, but you've got those things covered, at least in a fundamental way. Where do we go next? And I think one of the primary things that people want to do, people not just in China but around the world, is travel. Let me have that experience. Let me find a way I can go and take a memory back home.
How much of an impact has the slowdown of the Chinese economy had on your business?
We think the growth in China will remain stratospheric in the tourism space. Why? 1.3 billion people or something like that in China today. We have 65 hotels. Marriott in the United States, with about 300 million people, we have 3,000 hotels. Now that's just Marriott. Maybe that's less relevant in the industry as a whole. You look at the industry as a whole, there are 5.5 million rooms in the United States for 325 million people. There are 1.5 million rooms in China only. And even though the GDP is growing more slowly at 7.5%-ish and not 8.5 or 9 or 9.5, whatever you look at from the last 20 years, you're still seeing the middle class grow extraordinarily quickly. And with the growth of that middle class, we'll see growth in tourism in a way that I think continues to drive strong growth in our industry.
Moving away from China, where else do you see growth happening in Asia?
We see in a place like Japan, for the first time in a generation, a growing economy, some optimism, and there are opportunities that are presented to us because of that, both for Japanese traveling abroad, but for also Japanese traveling more within Japan. You look at markets like Thailand. Thailand has got considerable political uncertainties today. That has an impact on travel, particularly to Bangkok at the moment, less so to the resort destinations. But Thailand is filled with stunning places to take vacations for other Asian travel, but also for global travel. And so we would continue to see that as a pretty powerful place.
What are your thoughts on India and its potential?
India is an extraordinary place. Of course, they have marketed India for years as incredible India. I think it's a brilliant marketing campaign, in many respects fits very well. It is exotic, it is extraordinarily beautiful, but it has its challenges. And so the primary challenge today is around infrastructure. How hard is it to get there? How hard is it to travel around India once you're there? I've been there many, many times for business travel. I've also been there for leisure travel with my family. It's a place that we love to go, and we see significant growth. But let's put it in context a little bit. 1.5 million rooms in China for 1.3 billion people. 5.5 million rooms in the United States for 325 million people. India, maybe 200,000 rooms for 1.2 billion people. So you think about that relatively low penetration in terms of our industry and travel. That is both a reflection of how difficult it is to develop and how challenged the infrastructure is to some extent, but it's also an indication of the extraordinary potential that India has. We opened a new hotel in India this week. I think, have about 30 hotels open in India and probably another 50 or so that are under construction that will open over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. It takes a little bit longer, but we think that the opportunity is huge.